everyone. Today I'm going to be going over several books with listening strategies. The first book I have is 10 Twinkly Stars. I would use it as my math concept book, but you could also tie in science, geography into it. It talks about the savannah, different places animals live. Great book all around. So basically, my listening strategy is we go down from 10 to 1 star throughout the book. So I take away 1, we would count, so on and so forth until we get down to 1 star. High above the sleepy jungle, 10 stars are shining bright. As lion yawns, it's time for bed and curls up for the night. I would have students count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Here we go to the next page. 9 stars glow above the rabbits. They bounce back to their beds. Time to nestle in their burrows and rest their sleepy heads. We would go back to counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We take away 1 star. This would also be a good time to introduce number sentences into it, like 10 minus 1 equals 9. Easy way for students to realize that 1 less than is the number below. 8 sparkly stars gleam overhead as the owls sing, hoo-hoo. Evening falls, they're wide awake. They play the whole night through. Take away 1 star and count again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 7. The hippos stomp down to the swamp. They wade in a midnight swim beneath the twinkling sky. Also point out, stars in the book will match the stars down here. So take away 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Go to the next one. 6. Up in the sky, 6 bright stars wink down on the woolly sheep. The lambs skip as their mommies call. It's time to go to sleep. Take away 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Above the dark savannah, 5 stars glint through the trees. The tall giraffes watch them twinkle in the cool night breeze. Once again, take away 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 4 bright stars shimmer on the ice where little penguins skate. Their parents call, it's time for bed. Come on, it's getting late. Take away 1. We have 1, 2, 3, 4. I would also have students look like you have 6 stars here. So 6 plus 4 equals 10, which would be the same as 10 minus 1 equals 9. As 3 stars sparkle in the sky down on the dusty land, the camels shut their sleepy eyes and snooze upon the sand. Once again, take away 1, 2, 3. 7 plus 3 equals 10. 2 in the sky above the yard, 2 stars light up the dark. Puppy curls up in his house and gives a goodnight bark. Take away 1. Count 1, 2. 8 plus 2 equals 10. Outside the bear's warm, cozy cave, 1 star shines through the night. The bear cuddle up together until the morning light. Take away 1, we're left with 1. So 1 plus 9 equals 10. And in the back of the book, it has all tucked away in their comfy beds, the animals snuggle tight. They sleep beneath the twinkly stars around the world tonight. And I would have students count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's all. So I love this math concept book. I just think it's fun, easy, so many different ways that you can take it when doing math concepts and listening strategies. My next book is Pete the Cat Checks Out the Library. And the reading strategy behind this is for students to decide whether a book is fiction and nonfiction. Pete the Cat goes to the library and dives into several different books, and they're either fiction or nonfiction, obviously. But I think students have a hard time with this because fiction books are fairy tales or superheroes, while nonfiction books are true books like science or talking about our universe or animals in it. So I think kids have a hard time with that just because you would sound like would not be true, but it's a true book. So I would have the students, whenever Pete the Cat is reading a different book, point out if it's fiction or nonfiction. Pete's mom is taking him to the library for the first time. The librarian gives Pete his very own library card. "Cool," says Pete. The librarian smiles. "Time for the tour." The librarian takes Pete through the library. There's a big desk where people wait to check out books. Pete sees some of his friends reading at a long table. It's very peaceful and quiet. How relaxing. The librarian takes Pete to her favorite room. There are lots of Pete-sized chairs, tables, and shelves. There are books of every shape and color. "What do I do now?" Pete asks. "Now you read a book," the librarian says. "Which book should I read?" asks Pete. "You can read any book you like," says the librarian. Pete looks around. There are so many books. And this is where they would start saying whether this is fiction or nonfiction. I would also point out to students that just because the topic of the book is the same, like if there was a fiction book on a princess kissing a frog and there was, a fiction book about a princess kissing a frog, and then there was a book about how frogs grow from babies to adults. It's same topic, still the frog, but they still need to be able to say, okay, well, fairy tale, that would be fiction. The growth of a frog would be nonfiction. Pete picks up a book all about airplanes and jets. He reads it and pretends he is a stunt pilot. He flies a fast jet and loops the loops and spirals high in the sky. And this would be nonfiction because we're talking about jets and airplanes and all sorts of stuff. Then Pete finds a book with dragons, wizards, and unicorns on the cover. He reads it and imagines that he is a powerful wizard using magic spells and special wand to defend his castle against a fire-breathing dragon. Students then put up fiction because it is a fairy tale. Next, Pete opens a book about spiders and insects. He reads it and imagines that he is a scientist studying all types of critters in the world. He has to be very still to study some critters and very fast to study others. Once again, this would be nonfiction because it's a true book, factual ideas about critters. Then Pete chooses a book with all sorts of scary monsters on the cover. It is a book of fairy tales. Pete reads it and pretends that he is in the dark. He is in a dark, spooky forest trying to outsmart a big bad wolf. Pete puts that book back on the shelf. It's too scary. Students would say that this is a fiction book because it is also a fairy tale. We're talking about a big bad wolf. Pete opens up a book about the pyramids in Egypt. He reads it and pretends that he is an explorer, riding a camel across the desert and climbing to the top of a giant pyramid. Students would put up nonfiction. Next, Pete picks a book with all sorts of robots on the cover. He reads it and imagines that he is a robot at a robot dance party. His arms and legs make whizzing sounds where he moves. When robot Pete speaks, he says bleep, bloop, bleep. And like we were talking about earlier, this could be fiction or nonfiction depending on exactly what the book is about. There's not much information for us to decide, but great talking point with your students. Next, Pete picks up a book about superheroes. He reads it and makes believe that he is a superhero. He flies around the city in a colorful cape, chasing bad guys and saving the day. Once again, this would be fiction. Then Pete spots a big book about the ocean and all its creatures. He reads it and imagines that he is a scientist in a submarine deep in the Atlantic Ocean looking for whales, squids, and sharks. Students will put up that as a nonfiction book. There are so many wonderful books to read at the library. Pete can be whatever he imagines with a book. Reading is super groovy. Like I said, I think fiction and nonfiction is such an important topic for children to learn, just because they can get confusing. I sometimes have a hard time with it, just because I don't use it every day. My next book is The Troublesome Cub, and students are once again going to raise up a paw during the book whenever words rhyme. This book definitely has a rhyme scheme to it. It tends to be like A, B, C, D, etc. So I would have students lift up the paw whenever they hear rhyming words and then ask them to tell me what the rhyming word would be. And I'm just going to do a little bit of this because it's a long book. A hungry black bear parts branches in her way just after sunrise one fine sunny day. This is when students would lift up their paw and I would say, well, what words rhyme? Way and day. Not too far behind, a little bear cub makes general mischief and mayhem in general hubbub. Once again, students would lift it up and I would say, well, what's the rhyming word? Can someone tell me? And it'd be cub and hubbub. Hubbub is also a good vocabulary word to use. Both bears are hungry at breakfast time beckons. Cubs chew one berry and then eats a second. Some they find acorns upon which to feast, and roots and some insects, good food for a beast. Paul again, because feast and beast rhyme. Then sun rises high in the late summer sky. Both bellies are full, now it's time for shut-eye. Or so mother thought, but around her cub prances. A swat of mom's paw puts a halt to her dances. Bear paw again, prances and dances. They settle below a small grove of green trees. Soon all that stirring are leaves in the breeze. Late afternoon, shadows take over the sun. The golden air touches each bear one by one. First a stir, then a wiggle. Now bear cub's awake. Wake up, he gives mom a shake. With a sleepy black paw, she warns him away. So cub ambles off to frolic and play. He scrambles along through the flowers and shrubs, a lot to explore for one small bear cub. Shrubs and cub. Bees zip around him, there's honey nearby. They soon fly away to the darkening sky. Oops. But cub forges on. This is way too much fun. Will travel for miles before he's quite done. Poking his snout to the late summer breeze, an odor floats by and seems sure to please. The promise of food beckons cub to a street that cub has to cross, for it leads to a treat. With the park now behind him and town straight ahead, cub thinks with his stomach instead of his head. Ahead and head. The scent pulls him nearer, then closer than close, until he feels dizzy with smells overdose. A green metal trash bin contains his great prize, mountains of garbage all coated with flies. Cub takes a nosedive into the pile and